Welcome to When Stars Align, a love and astrology podcast that explores all aspects of dating, sex, and relationships from a cosmic point of view. I'm Megan.
And I'm Kirah, and we're your hosts. Together, we're bringing you over 20 years of combined experience as astrologers. Each week, we'll dive into different topics.
From dating advice from your favorite experts to pop culture updates, weekly dating forecasts, and everything in between.
Let this be your go-to space for everything love and astro.
I'm back for another very special episode of When Stars Align. We have our first in-person guest.
I'm here.
Ashley Ray is with us. Ashley is a writer and a comedian, and some might know her as Kate Winslet's Vape coach, especially if you're on these Twitter streets like I am, and how I originally, I think, found Ashley.
Yeah.
Welcome.
I'm so glad to be here.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I am ready to get my chart torn apart.
Yes.
So.
We love to do that.
Please.
We call it shitting on a chart over
Yeah.
here.
And also,
just rip it up.
we shit and then we gush.
Yes.
We shit on it and then we gush all over it.
I feel like my chart gives a lot of opportunity for both.
Yeah.
So.
That's beautiful. I feel like also, because I just listened to Ashley's new comedy LP called Ice Cream Money. It's incredible. If you haven't listened to it,
Thank
you
you.
need to. But do you have a quintuple Scorpio mother?
I do, yes.
Okay, so
She's a Sagittarius sun and every other placement is Scorpio.
if anybody's ready to just be like, tear me apart.
yes.
Truly. Like, yes. She prepared me well for that.
Oh, I love
I
it.
love that. Yeah, I have a Sag mom with Scorpio placements, and her older sister is a Scorpio stellium with Mars and Sag. And so I'm like, it's just like the roasting is
Yes.
built in.
Yes.
Yeah.
And from care and love, but still, yeah, I knew I'd be a comedian at a young age, I think.
Yes.
Incredible.
Yeah. Well, let's talk a little about, I love like looking at comedians' charts, and there's like, well, actually I should mention, Ashley and I actually recorded an episode for my old podcast. I don't know if it was on the Astrology Show or Cosmic Guidance for All, but if you search Cosmic Guidance for All, Ashley Ray, you'll find it. And yeah, we kind of just like went into your chart.
Yeah.
And I just love comedians' charts. I love looking at those signatures. Usually it's like a Mercury Jupiter thing. Usually it's some fire sign stuff.
Mhm.
So I wanted to talk
yeah.
about your chart. Do you want to share your sun, moon, rising?
Oh, yeah. Sagittarius sun, Scorpio rising, and an Aries moon.
Aries moon gang.
Wow.
Aries moon, it's a lot. It's a lot going on.
Also, the combo for you and your mom. Are you both Sag with Scorpio rising?
Yeah, I guess so.
Wow.
Yeah, that never really clicked for me that way, but yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, I love that too. Yeah, okay. So you have the Aries moon, obviously. So you being a Scorpio rising puts all of your like fire placements in these like darker parts of the chart. And it doesn't mean like dark bad necessarily, but the second house of money and finances, the sixth house of work and labor, the 10th house of career and profession. So we talked about this in my last podcast, but I just think that's so interesting because to me, it really signals like, yes, you're funny, but like you're funny, like you ground that into like something actionable to make a living off of.
Yeah.
And almost like purpose too. Like I feel
Yeah.
like the 10th house of career and reputation speaks so much to like how other people perceive you because it started with your midheaven, which is the highest point in your chart. So it's like, when we see that marker with fire energy, I'm just like, what was the moment that clicked for you where you were like, I'm not just funny, but everybody else needs to know that I'm funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I always loved performing. Like middle school, high school, I did theater, every single thing. I loved attention, which I think is very Sagittarius. But it was in Chicago in about 2015. I'd been doing a lot of storytelling and like the moth type things.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And I just hated afterwards when people would come up and be like, thank you for teaching us. That was so deep. And I was like, I just like the parts where people laugh.
Yeah.
Like, I just like the parts where people are like, that was so funny. Oh my gosh, I relate to that. And a few people were like, well, then you should just do stand-up. And I
Yeah.
was like, duh, yes. And I jumped right in. I started going to open mics and fell in love immediately. So it kind of was just as soon as it clicked for me, like, oh, that's a viable option. It was like, go, boom.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. I love that so much. And especially, I feel like what Sagittarius is so good at is taking the conversations they're having with other people and putting their pride aside if it helps them learn, if it helps them explore something new or grow. So have you noticed since you kind of stepped into this space and really owned it, that you've had new aspects of your career come out? Like, where are these new conversations of growth stepping in?
Absolutely. I mean, now I've been doing stand-up for, oh my gosh, I think I'm at like 8 or 9 years now. But like, that's a long time. But it's like, when you start, you really do have to humble yourself. You are like starting from scratch. You learn from other comedians. Even if you like don't think someone is funny, you put that aside, because even the most hack comic can teach you something about the game. You know, some hack who's been doing this for 30 years, there's a reason why they have that longevity. So, you know, I think it's easy to have an ego when you start. You know, it's particularly if you're like very funny and you're getting booked often early. And I was
Maverick. Sorry.
I'm out, right? And I came up in Chicago, where it really is like, you know, small pond, tons of big fish. And so people will really kind of be like, I'm a big deal in Chicago. I'm going to go to LA and they're going to put me right on TV. And it's like, oh, that's not how that works.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's where Groundlings started, right?
Yeah. In the Second City and the Improv Olympics, I think.
Wild.
Yeah. I feel like Chicago is sort of like known as like, if you make it in Chicago comedy wise, it's like, yeah, you have a good shot. Where it's like LA with film, and
For sure.
New York with certain things like fashion.
Yeah.
I love, obviously you're a Sag and you have an Aries moon, but you also have Mercury and Venus in Sagittarius. So you're like super fiery. And one of my favorites as a Mercury and Sag.
My Mercury is in Sag. My Mars is in Gemini.
Yes, yes. You have a lot of mutable. But yeah, I feel like especially Mercury and Sagittarius, as a fellow Mercury and Sag, has this like really beautiful ability to kind of like tell stories and like storytell in a way where you're taking big concepts and condensing them and delivering them and translating them in a way that's like super relatable and digestible for people. And yeah, I just feel like you do that in your comedy. I feel like that's something that comedians do really well.
Yeah.
And you specifically do really well. And I feel like the Venus and Sag just adds like another charm to the funny.
Yeah, the Venus and Sag, I think, is I'm down to try that. Like, just for the story. Like, sure, that'll be fun. Why not? If other people can learn from it, I'll do it.
It's literally, that's a good segue, but
not the same
but
thing. I was like,
it's very much like, I always say it's the most fun Venus sign, like hands down.
I agree.
It is the most like spontaneous, fun placement.
Like, we're messy as hell, but like, it's so much fun.
Do it for the bit.
And you keep it light on the way. Like the fact that even what you've shared with us is like, yeah, there can be some like ripping and tearing apart, but like, make it humorous, make it light. And we were talking about this earlier. Like, there's so much in comparison with astrologers and comedians where it's like, people don't realize how intelligent we are. Like, I feel like both of our points of career just don't get credit for being extremely quick.
And master translators.
Totally.
Like, that's what we do, is translate information, translate concepts in a way.
Being able to read people and moments and emotions. It's all about it.
Yes. There's so many comparisons. I was talking about, I want to transition. I want to talk about, what did you want to say?
Can I ask one more question?
Yeah. So I was like, I'm going to go on a tangent. And I don't want to take us too far.
Where is your water in your chart? Anywhere?
Rising.
The Scorpio
rising,
and
any Pisces or Cancer?
I have my Chiron in Cancer.
Okay.
There's very little earth and water in my chart.
Yes. No, but I just feel like some underlying tendency for you is this ability to sense, like intuit with other people. And it's
that's South Node in Cancer, I feel. With Chiron there especially. And in the 9th house, which has so much to do with our worldview and how we're literally like conceptualizing things on like a macro scale. I feel like there's like that intuitive, like emotional, like you can kind of sense how people are feeling. And there's almost like a healing nature to this work, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I do feel like it's, I mean, really in comedy in particular, but it's like the ability to read people and to know, like, if I say this, I can get this person to laugh, and if I say this, I can make them hate me.
Yeah, I can make them cry. Yeah.
And it's just being able to like read someone that quickly and know you can kind of do that is, I think it's,
It's also very Mars and Gemini. Like,
yes.
Words are weapons, and it's like how you're wielding that weapon.
I love debate. I was one of those kids who was like, I will argue with you.
Yes. There's one part of your LP, and this stuck with me because I'm from just north of Boston, but you were talking about loving Boston. And I feel like even knowing the crowd to say that joke to, I feel like, I don't know. I was just dying laughing. I don't want to ruin any of it because I really do want people to go and listen to it. But
I would say I have a little love letter to Boston.
Yes.
I do love it.
You're like, I'm not going to live here.
I live there. I've dated a lot of people from Boston, mostly Somerville. But
okay.
That is self-sabotage if I've ever heard it.
It really is.
I'll raise you one and say Staten Island, but we won't go there.
I'll give you that. one, yeah.
A Staten Island cop would win the whole argument.
Thank God he also hated cops as much as
I
did.
You're in the clear.
He's the one who taught me. He's like, every time you pass a cop, no matter what, you flip them off.
Yes.
Even if it's in your pocket, even if it's like under the window and they can't see it, it's the energy. And I'm like, that's one thing he gave me.
I need you to call my dad immediately and tell him that. My dad used to get so pissed. I started flipping off cops when I was like 11 years old. And he's like, you cannot move to LA and do that. And I was like, I'm going to do it twice.
Yes. Where you can do that.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, there's one place you can do that. It's definitely
LA.
Yeah.
My dad's like Irish Catholic living in rural New Hampshire.
Oh,
like, don't do
that's
that.
I'm like,
it's like, oh no, the cops here, I think, expect it.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're disrespected if you don't.
They're like, how can we make money off of this?
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, I want to talk a little bit about your relationship, dating life.
Yeah.
I hate saying discover because it makes me feel like I'm like a talent agent. Like I discovered Ashley. But no, the first time I heard you or like, you came into my world was on Nicole Byer's podcast, Why Won't You Date Me, which is a great podcast, Virgo Queen. And I was listening to that in the pandemic, and you were talking about dating apps that you were on. You mentioned Field, which has become a dating app that I've almost exclusively used until Stars Align comes out. Stars Align comes out.
Yeah.
But yeah, you had mentioned that you did this whole project where you dated every sign in the Zodiac.
Yeah, I think project is the right word. Like I said, I'm very willing to do things for the story.
And experimentation.
And like
experiment. That's the good word for it.
I'm solo poly. So, at the time I was 26. I was in Chicago. I was just kind of dating to date. Like at one point I had 4 partners I was seeing. I was just kind of casual about it and not really investing seriously in anyone. And I started to think, well, maybe it's me, or maybe it's like the certain signs I date. I was seeing a lot of repetition of I'm dating a lot of Geminis and Tauruses, and I'm just gonna start fresh, and I want to date every zodiac sign a month at a time for a year. But I had all of these rules because at the time I had a ton of astrologer friends, so I went to them and I was like, when would be the best time to date someone? I don't want to do it during their season because I didn't want to have to deal with the birthdays. Exactly. So they were like, when Venus is in their sun sign, that would be the best time. So when I started, I think at the time it was in Pisces. So I started with Pisces. And I would truly, on all my dating profiles, I'd be like, tell me your birthday, your favorite color, and your favorite number, and I'll write you a custom joke. And they'd all tell me their birthdays, and then I'd just be like, save you for Leo season. Save you for Scorpio season. And then I go back and be like, oh my God, I never checked this. Hey.
Yes.
If you didn't catch, she's a Scorpio rising.
Chad's face.
Yeah. I was scheming.
We need a camera for Chad.
I know, we need a camera for Chad.
But it would work. And I had a spreadsheet of okay, contact this person when you reach this one. On first dates, I was upfront about it. When they agreed to go on a date, I would be like, hey, this is the deal. we can date for this month, but when the month is over, we're done. Like it's clean slate. I start the next sign.
Yes.
But at the end of the year, if we really clicked with each other, we can get back in touch.
That's
wow.
This is so, I love it.
And were there any other rules? Like we're not gonna hook up. We're not gonna like.
No, it was literally like
something?
we can make this as much of a relationship as you want within the month. So like there were some people where we clicked so thoroughly by the end of it. Like I was bringing them soup because they were sick and stuff. And I was very upfront. Like first dates, I would be like, you have to give me your natal chart. I kept track of every single thing. And then I would track their natal chart like in this spreadsheet. And like kind of just like rate the time with them and how much I enjoyed it in certain parts of it.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I'm sure all sounds crazy, but
no, it's just Mars and Gemini.
Yeah,
it's just like
data collection.
Yeah, and it was also just fun to see the responses because obviously not every sign was into this.
Totally.
I could not find a Virgo who would agree to do it.
Oh my God.
I went on 2 dates with Virgos and one of them did ask to like see my spreadsheet and she was like, this is very impressive. I do have some notes.
Wow.
And I'm not kidding. She was like, if you did a pivot table, you could have it pull in this. And I was like, that is so helpful.
Start like color coding everything. Have like the equations.
She was like, you
so
can start
hot to
color
me.
coding the signs and da-da-da. And then you could like see if there's certain Venus signs. And I was just like, okay, now you're doing too much.
I would be like, let's fuck and then we can do this together because this is so hot.
I was just
she
gonna
was
say
just like,
personal
anyway,
assistant.
you're welcome. But no, I want nothing to do with this. This is insane. And she was like, but we can be friends. And we are still friends.
Oh,
But I
that's
was like-
awesome.
I was like, I can totally understand Virgos being like, I'm not doing that with my dating life. Why would I play around for a month?
See,
Oh
but
my
it's
God.
the control thing for us. Like as a Virgo sun, it's like, no, wait a second. Like you're the one controlling me.
Yes.
Like I'm supposed to have you on the leash.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially the like, what do you mean like a month and it's up and I follow your rules.
Yeah.
It was kind of the same with Leos too, I will say. But for the Leos, it was more like they would get mad that they weren't the center of my attention.
Yeah.
They'd be like, how dare you think you were just going to move on from me at the end of the month?
Yes.
And I was like, yeah, I think it'll be fine. No problem.
The assumption that like you're never gonna get over me is the most cliched Leo thing. I swear to God, even if you're not doing an experiment like this, it's just like, oh, you're never gonna get over me. And it's like, watch me, bitch.
This is end game. This is end
like
game.
this is gonna be the end of your little experiment right here.
Yeah.
And I remember this guy who I had actually matched with when I was going through Aries. And I told him, I was like, you're a Leo, I'll put you in the book. And when I hit him up being like, hey, now I'm seeing Leos, he was like, I've been waiting. You're about to see. This is going to be the end of your whole thing. Like, you're going to be so impressed with me. And it was actually one of the worst dates I've ever been in. It was so bad. We went to go see a comedy show. I think it was, I don't know, Tracy Morgan or somebody for some festival. And it was so bad that as we were leaving, all my friends were going to a bar and hopping into a taxi. And they were like, Ashley, you just want to come with us? And I was like, my friends are going to have fun. I'm going to just go with them. And I just hopped in the taxi and left him. And he was so mad. And needless to say, we never saw each other again.
That definitely.
Right.
Yeah. I was like, I ripped apart his little Leo heart with that.
I'm
tough.
so curious if he was in the space where he had a lot of Virgo placements too, because that like, I always see it with men, like the machismo comes out with Virgo placements and they're like, this is going to be the best sex of your life. And I'm like, you literally came before your pants were off. Like I'm good.
Yeah, trust me, I'll be okay.
So do you have any like best, worst or like any favorites? Because I'm curious, like, knowing your chart, like which one stood out?
I had a great time with Tauruses, which I'm a Scorpio rising, makes a lot of sense.
Yes.
I clicked so well with the Tauruses. I hooked up with 2 of them I dated at the end of the experiment because we just clicked so much. And those were the ones where I was like, you guys just get it. You get what I'm doing. It was like we fully in a month had just like a fun, full relationship. And then it was like, oh, see you next lifetime. Yeah, maybe if we click.
Yeah.
And I dated 2 Tauruses who also both had Aries moons and were born in the same place, but different years.
Oh, wow.
It was crazy. I still have both their charts, but I was literally dating both of them at the same time. And they are the 2 that I dated afterwards. And I was just like, what is it about like Taurus, Aries moons from Nashua, New Hampshire?
It's not Nashua, New Hampshire too. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Mall? That was the only place that we had Trader Joe's within driving distance growing up. So I was like cowboy caviar queen.
So
going down
I wonder what that
they're cooking something up there that creates my soulmates. So.
There's probably like some astrocartography.
That's what I was just gonna say.
Because like those two, I was like, this is crazy. Like you're both Taurus, Aries moon, born in the same place. Like what?
Wow,
that is
so creepy.
Wild.
Also very different vibes, but yeah.
I love that. Okay, so the Tauruses were good. Any other ones?
Love the Tauruses. Sagittarius was horrible. And I say even before this, I've always hated dating my own sign. Yeah. I think there's only enough for one Sagittarius in any dynamic. Yeah. No offense, but we're barely human. So like it's just too much if there's two of us. And the Sagittarius, I just was like kind of annoyed. It was just annoyed and
did it remind you of your mom at all?
What was that?
Did it remind you of your mom at all? Any traits?
Honestly, no. I feel like my mom is such a Scorpio that like, and she's so secretive. She doesn't like to share things. She will keep everything close to the chest. And I think the Sagittarius...
Except for Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
He's a Scorpio?
No, but her mom was on Joe Rogan's podcast.
Seth Rogen.
Oh, sorry, that's what I meant.
Very different.
Okay,
Seth
yeah,
Rogen's
I was just like, wait, sorry. We need to send her home.
My mother is not an incel.
Okay. I literally, every fucking time I mean to say Seth Rogen. And I also, my roommate, I guess now, was watching a Joe Rogan podcast last night. So it's like in my, okay, sorry.
Joe's
Seth
everywhere.
Rogen. Ashley's mom was on his what is his podcast called?
It was Storytime with Seth Rogen.
Okay.
It was an Earwolf pod where he like had people come on and like share stories and he would like interview people. And my mom, like I said, quintuple Scorpio, Sagittarius rising. She was in the closet for basically
most of
50 years, most of her life. Like growing up, I knew I was gay at like a very young age, queer. I 12 years old, I was like, I'm pretty sure I'm bisexual. And my mom was like, oh no, like we have to send you to conversion therapy, which we were really poor. She would just send me to church early. She'd be like, you're going to go to church like an hour before everyone else, sit with our pastor's wife, and she's going to convince you being straight is cool.
Yeah.
Which did not work, but.
And not through a pastor's wife. Yeah. I'm like, babe, she's getting the worst of all of it.
I was like, she's not making me think, wow, you seem like you love your husband and it's a lot of fun for you.
Yeah, literally.
And it wasn't until my mom was 63 that like I got a text from her one day and she was just like, Dear Ashley, I am gay and/or queer now.
No.
Pay me. And it true. That's how she came out, was just via text. And I was shocked. And I'm just like, okay. But
I guess I am my mother's child.
Yeah. And like I was like, okay, she really kept that secret. And we talked about it. She was okay with me like talking about it in my stand-up and stuff. And I wrote some jokes about it. And Seth heard them and was like, I think this would be a great short story for the podcast. Could I interview your mom? And and I was like, yeah, absolutely. And she interviews with Seth. And at the end of it, he messages me and he's like, hey, I just thought I should tell you, your mom said there are things she told me that she's never told you before.
Tracks.
And I was like, what a goddamn quintuple story. I'm like, what do you mean there's things that you told the star of Superbad? But not me, but not me, your daughter. Like, oh, I'm sorry, the main star of Sausage Party was a safe space for you.
Right?
But you couldn't tell me what was going on.
I need to know their synastry now.
Truly.
I need to know.
Honestly, my mom is like, oh, he's like my Dr. Phil. Like her and Seth clicked more than me.
Wait, I love that so much. And it also tracks heavy having a Sagittarius parent where like I could not get my dad to be open and honest about literally anything, especially not like the motives of being an asshole. Like, I'm like, why are you treating me like this? And it's always this projection thing with them. And their only safe space of opening up about this stuff is via text. I'm like, what? Like, you're telling me the biggest bomb drop of my life over text?
But then when you're, face to face with Seth Rogen, you're like, this is a safe bit. Here I can open up. And the thing is, they interviewed each other without me listening. She literally was like, can Ashley leave the room? she asked me to leave so she could just be open with Seth.
Oh my God.
And I am just like, like, what's...
Your mom is an icon. And it's also
Absolutely,
such Jupiter influence that like the minute she's authentic about who she is, she gets on fucking Seth Rogen's podcast.
Right? And I'm just like, I mean, I've just been gay since I was a teenager, and I guess nobody wanted to write about that, but okay. But
That's amazing.
yeah, I think I love that about her. And I will say I had trouble dating Scorpios. And I think that kind of reminded me more of my mom, because with my mom growing up, it was always like, I always felt there were things she wasn't telling me. I was always like, I can tell there are things you're not telling me.
Yes.
That's what you do. And so dating a Scorpio, particularly someone who knows at the end of this month, we're not going to be taught like dating anymore. They would just truly like, I think one of them gave me a fake name. I frankly think we dated and I think he gave me a fake name. I have never been able to find him under the name he gave me.
What name did he give you?
He said his name was Frederick.
Not Frederick.
Okay. He was black. He was black. I was like, okay. In honor of...
What's his last name? Like Jorgensen? Like, it just feels like some improv name.
And like now thinking back, I'm like, who would be named Frederick? But at the time I was like, oh yeah, that makes some sense. And I think we met. He was one of the rare matches that I have found on OkCupid, because OkCupid's one of the few dating profiles where people can put their sign. So that also is like really easy to find people through.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I think we met on that. So like, okay, they don't like require a name just to handle.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I was just like, I won't say his last name in case it is his name.
Right.
I am so sure it is not, because I have never found him on a social platform, on anything. I have searched the full name. I have tried like
nickname,
Freddie, Fred, and no, nothing. I am so certain he was just like, oh, just a mysterious person I'll date for a month. I'll be Frederick.
Yeah, no, that tracks. I mean,
so Scorpio.
Yeah, so Scorpio.
Truly.
So yeah, that doesn't surprise me. Scorpio men are difficult. I was raised by one, so I have a even though Scorpio love is like drugs,
Right.
It's not sustainable for me.
Yeah. Totally. It definitely does. Like even for other signs, like I'm sure that you get this too. It's just like so intoxicating to be around them, where you're like, I know that you're fucking with me, but like I have to stay for the bit. Like I have to figure out where this is going.
And someday I would not be shocked if I'm like 55 and one day he just messaged me. He's like, my name was Mike. I would not be shocked. He'd be like, gotcha. And I would be like, long con, that's what you guys do.
You're like Magic Mike.
I'd be like, you got me. Respect. I have always had a good, I've always loved Aquarius, Pisces, end of the chart people.
Yep.
But dating wise, they also were very like, we get what you're doing here. Super fun. And my dad is a triple Aquarius. So I think that also was very like, I vibe with them.
Yeah.
Super fixed energy from your
makes
parents.
Sense for your chart too. Yeah. Well, Aquarius is like your fourth house, which is the house of the father. So it makes sense that your dad just lights up your fourth house, and other Aquariuses, but kind of like, I would imagine, just feel really like familiar and like comfortable. It's like easy to get into a flow.
Yeah. It's always so easy to just connect with them. It is like one of those situations where other people are like, are you guys just like trauma bonding right away? And we're like, no, we're becoming best friends in 5 seconds.
Yeah. It's like, you wouldn't get it. Yeah. That's okay. How about like Libras? Did you do any Libras?
Oh my gosh, I did.
I think we all do the same thing. First of all, we always have to do a hand thing with a Libra.
I did. To be fair to them, I would say they were completely middle of the pack, even, which is typically my experience with Libras. Either I love them or I hate them.
They're just sitting here with the scales.
Where I just am either like aggravated that I'm like, could you please just stop trying to play both sides and like have a backbone?
Yeah.
Or I'm like, oh my God, you're so pretty and fun. Yay. And I made one good friend from the Libra I dated, and then I went on 2 horrible dates with Libras, and I was just like, I don't want to see this person again.
No, I totally get that.
Yeah. We had a whole episode where we shat on Libras, and
then guys.
Yeah, and then Gus.
I love they're so pretty all the time. Like they
the best companions.
Yeah.
Like
Truly.
if you want to like invite someone to do something with you, like a Libra is always gonna be a good invite.
I wish I had their temperament. I mean, I Aries Sagittarius
So
over here. I'm always
diplomatic,
popping
yes.
off, and I'll like meet a Libra, and they're like, "I'm gonna think about that." And I'm like, "Wow, that's so cool."
And then they'll go and study it though, which
Yeah.
is like the wildest thing. Like I always refer back to Cardi B and her knowledge of history.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, everybody thinks of her as one way. And I'm like
they see the Aries moon.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the Libra scale is like, no, I'm actually like one of the most intelligent people you've probably had in your
true.
segment.
And I've thought about this, and I am like plotting and planning, and watch out for it.
Exactly.
So you're not a completely unbiased variable in the whole experiment, though. Like this is where my science brain turns on, and I'm like, what aspects of the experience do you feel like you and your chart brought to that year?
Oh, that's a good question. That's such a good question. I mean, let's see, I was 26 that year, and it was, consciously I was like Saturn return, like, this is the time to like, to like really discover myself and see what I like. And in that regard, selfish, yes. Is it an absolutely selfish way to date? Yes. But when you're 26, you can be selfish for dating. So I think I brought that kind of energy to it of just, I'm young. I'm going to use this to find myself, learn about myself. And, I think if I did it now, there'd be a lot more care and selection. I said yes to, if someone agreed on a date and they were that sign, I would go. Even if I was like, even if I was like, I'm not really attracted to them, I would be like, for the science.
Yeah. No, I totally get that. And so this was back when you were 26. Where has your dating and love life gone since then? What has life post-experiment been?
Yeah.
I mean, right after I dated one of the Tauruses that I had like really clicked with, and we dated for like almost a year. It was a good amount of time. So in that regard, I was like, I guess it was a success because I met someone I really liked and it lasted a while. But I think it's interesting because I realized really what I wanted from relationships, the dynamics I enjoyed. But at the same time, it's so distinct from like the actual dating, like being able to, I think people had a certain freedom in the experiment because they knew like, oh, I'm not going to see this girl again. Like, one of the Pisces that that I really clicked with, he like was this, he played in a bunch of kind of nerdy jazz bands and stuff.
Of course he did.
Naturally. Naturally.
And like, he was just so cool. And like, I could tell normally he was a really reserved person. And his friends, we went out with him one time and they were like, it's so weird how he's like already so open and fun with you. And usually like, he's not like this. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure because he knows I'm going to be gone. Like, he's just like, I can just kind of do
pressure,
this. And like, she'll keep it a secret and I can be this person. And he like did this whole picnic thing for me on the roof of his building and like played saxophone. And I was just like, this is so romantic and nice.
Yeah.
Seriously.
And then I also was like, but you're just doing it because I won't be here and you need to examine that in yourself.
Yeah. It's definitely like a Pisces thing where it's like when they get too scared, they swim away.
Yeah.
And I mean, I can relate.
Like, I feel like I feel like at the end, if I had been like, I'm in love with you, I want to stay with you forever, he would have had a heart attack.
Yeah.
Totally. Like, no, I wasn't playing that.
Wasn't he throws himself off of the roof. He's like, I'm good. Like,
I was truly only in it because I thought it was temporary.
But I mean, there is something really liberating about restriction. Like we talk about that with Saturn influence as well. And like, I think just human psychology, like if you are somebody who finds freedom in restraint, like not just BDSM, but like any type of restraint, it's like, explore that, like if that's the only way that you can get that part of you out.
Well, I think it's interesting because when you were 26, your third house activated by perfection, which is Capricorn, and your Saturn's there, which is like the most dignified planet in your chart. It's very loud. So there is that need to like kind of categorize and compartmentalize that was like really turned on and activated then. And and in your third house too, which is like kind of a busy space that has a lot to do with like your daily day-to-day actions, but also like your neighborhood and your local space and just kind of like getting like who's around you, who's in your vicinity. But yeah, I just think it's so interesting that kind of clicked in and you were like, I'm going to go about this particular way.
Totally.
Yeah.
What else?
If you're out there watching this, do I recommend you do it? No. Well, yeah, maybe do it, but maybe just like a week at a time or something.
Yeah.
Find your own schedule.
Well, the thing is, we were saying like, we've kind of already dated the Zodiac, like unintentionally.
I think most people, if you sit and like wrote it out, it would be like,
Yes.
oh yeah, I have dated every sign.
Yeah,
we need
exactly.
that Virgo back on just to set everybody up with some like input or algorithm, like the way that you store people in your phone.
Yeah.
And then it's just like, this is how many people you've dated.
Yeah, maybe we need an app for that.
Honestly.
Maybe Stars Align needs to incorporate something like
please.
a fuck list.
or like your analytics.
Yeah, I need the analytics of like how much of one sign I'm dating, and is that the problem?
Yes.
Development team, are you listening? We need to send this to them.
Honestly. Well, it's crazy because I do this a lot with my clients. Like if they're coming to me and they're like, my love life keeps hitting the same dead end of this maze, that's usually the question that I ask is like, is there any repetitive patterns that you found dating a specific sign? And it's funny that you were talking about like attracting a lot of Taurus people or like liking those Taurus people. And I just think about what that's saying about you, like maybe giving yourself more time to be receiving or to relax or to let things be more romanticized in your life. Like I always think that people come into our lives almost like a chess game, and it's like moving one to the other to get some message across.
And you do have a partner that you're dating right now that I've met a couple times. Really sweet. You want to tell us about him?
Yeah. After that experiment, I dated a lot of signs, I guess, like Tauruses mostly, and just kind of, like got out there. And I moved to LA a bit after that, and dating in LA is a hellhole, basically. A hellhole. And
if you can find somebody here, you can find somebody anywhere.
Or I wouldn't say that, actually. I would just say like you were destined to meet your person.
Yeah, truly. You meet someone here,
you're just like, you're special.
Yeah.
Fully fated.
And I had about, I guess at that point, 4 years of dating here. And I mean, that's also during the pandemic, so some of it doesn't count. But like, I had moved here dating someone. The pandemic hit. When I came out of it, I was like, how do I even date? I just was like, I just want to meet someone and kind of just like adjust to being a person again. I did that, like kind of had a starter person I dated, which sounds like awful, but like, we both, I think we're on the same page if this isn't a long-term thing. And then like a year after that, I started to kind of feel like I should try to take dating seriously. I should put it, because I also had basically stopped going out. I didn't care about dating apps anymore. I was like, if I meet someone, okay, but also you won't meet someone staying in your house. So I just started another project, actually. And this one, I downloaded every dating app. I called it 52 First Dates, and I decided I'm going to go on a new date every week for a year. I'm going 52 first dates, and I must meet someone I will like in that time.
You sound like my ex-boyfriends.
This is so like Venus and Sag coded.
And I wrote about it. There's a Substack, 52firstdates.substack.com. And, I would like get all like information, get to know them, and then just kind of, think about the date. And the person I'm seeing now was my 5th date.
Oh my God.
And our 5th date. And honestly, the second we met and hung out, I was like, oh, this is my person.
Yeah.
It was just such an immediate, like, oh, I don't want to date anyone else. So I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I like you. And it just really clicked. And I was like, I guess the experiment worked because I met someone.
Wait, what's his SMR? His Sun and Rising?
Yeah.
Let me pull it up.
I was just going to say,
I know I got it.
Visual.
To run side by side with this wild Sagittarian energy, I'm like, he's got to be special.
He's a Leo.
Oh, love it already.
Let's see, I'm pretty sure it's in my pro time passages.
Hell yeah. The only way to go.
Leo Sun, Taurus Moon, Sagittarius Rising.
Okay,
Taurus Moon. So,
but they also
luminaries. The luminaries on your angles. I love that. So, his moon in your 7th house, his sun in your 10th house, and his sun and your sun have that trine. They see each other really beautifully. What does he do for work?
He's a teacher.
Oh my God, stop.
I'm like the best teacher.
That makes me want to cry. Did you finish the experiment?
No, we met each other. I went on maybe 3 or 4 more dates after him. We've gone on one date and we were both kind of like, oh, we're vibing. But I didn't have the same rule. So in this one, like if I met someone one week, I could keep seeing them, but I would also go on a new date.
You're right.
And then it just kind of turned into, we're going to go out again.
Yeah.
Oh, we're going to go out again.
Yeah.
And 3 of the people from that, we became really good friends. And a few, it was just like, yeah, this is a horrible date. We'll never speak again. But I mean, I truly met someone and I was like, I guess if you just force yourself to actually get out there and date, you can make it happen in LA. But I am not kidding you. I downloaded every dating app. I was like, I was also kind of comparing different dating apps and like how I felt they worked. So it was.
And Stars Align wasn't out at that point.
Yeah.
I truly was on like Field, Plenty of Fish, OK Cupid, every single one.
Yeah.
And I was like, I will get a date every week. And I quit. Like after date number 9, I was just like, I want to.
There's no point in this anymore.
And now
we've
been together for about a year and 4 months.
So Ashley, earlier you said that you're solo poly. Does that mean you're polyamorous when you're single?
Basically. Wow, that's actually like the simplest.
I know. I'm like never.
I was like, wow, that's the easy. I'm like solo poly is like you have partners, but you're also single.
Yeah.
But then at times I do have periods of monogamy with certain partners, but long term, the goal will be non-monogamy.
Wow.
But I will date someone if we feel like, hey, let's just be monogamous and get to know each other.
Yeah.
I'm cool with that. If people are like, hey, let's just be open and maybe try for a few months being monogamous, it's just kind of the flexibility.
Yeah.
But it basically means I'm not working towards like a nesting partner or that traditional relationship escalator of like, oh, we're going to get married and share a bank account. It's like, no, I'm going to have my place in my bank account.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, it's on the fire. It's like very independent. And I'm like looking at
this his chart?
This is hers. And look how beautiful that grand trine is.
It's stunning, but also like the least chaotic chart I've ever seen.
I took off all the.
Oh, I was like,
I was going to say my chart is so chaotic.
Literally that threw me for the biggest fucking loop.
I was like,
I don't know this person.
No, this only has like 5 planets.
I feel like there's so much chaos.
Wow, no, there is so much chaos.
But okay, so Ashley has, for the astro nerds out there, Moon in Aries, trine Jupiter in Leo, trine Venus in Sag. So like this, they're all like in a very, very tight grand trine. And it's just, that's the levity and the laughter and the fun and like the openness to just try new things, be spontaneous.
And not even like a desire to be locked down.
Yes.
Like understanding that every
can't hold
stage,
fire.
No.
Yeah, no.
And I think that's what like it is for you. It's like, you will not ever try to contain my fire.
Mm-hmm.
Like I am myself. I am my own person. And you can fuel my fire and my fire can like fuel yours and warm you up. But like, never try to siphon my fire.
Yeah.
Never try to contain me. You cannot hold on to fire.
Absolutely not. Admire it.
Yes.
Like literally all you have to
in
do
it.
is admire it. I feel like that's like the oldest Buddhist teaching of like, when you pluck a flower, you get it for a moment.
Yeah.
But if you admire it and let it grow, you get it for a lifetime. Like, why?
And when people try to contain the fire, it's like that's when the Scorpio rising comes out. And I'm like, okay, now I will make you cry.
Yes.
Now I
Pluto
will have
on the
to
ascendant.
own you and be petty. And
If you don't follow Ashley on Twitter, you are missing the fuck out. I'm telling you. Like one of my absolute favorite Twitter follows, because you, one, just have like pretty regularly, like pretty viral tweets. And 2, like people get pissed off. I mean, that's the Twitter thing, but like the way people get pissed off at you is
it's a special kind of pissed off at me. It's so special.
And you're so good at like not even clapping back at people. And like some people are like, will roast people. Like you don't even do that. You just like very intelligently like show people why they're stupid.
Right, like, what are you doing? Like, it's like a mirror.
Yeah, I'm just like, okay, you think that was a smart thing to say? You really think that's smart to say?
I'm going to give you 2 more tweet chances to figure out.
Yeah, and I think that's why I like Twitter and I can't get off of it. I mean, also the like Mars and Gemini, I'm just like, I need to be verbal.
Yes.
I totally relate.
Yeah, and just like argue about things, but Yeah, it's the platform for I think Sagittarians too, because we like to argue.
My Mercury, I'm like, I just need it. I have a thought, it needs to get out into the world.
Yeah.
I need my microphone.
And it's also like I'm not thinking about it, which is also the Sagittarius. Like people will be like, you must plan these tweets to have them go viral, and I'm like, no,
definitely not.
Like they'll be like, you must have known people would react this way, and I'm just like, literally didn't think about it even once. Honestly, still not thinking about it and don't understand.
Literally, because you'll tweet something and then like sometimes it'll be a day or two later and it's like, this has 60K likes. Like when did that happen?
And people are still like DMing me. I think the most recent one is I'm going to a bachelorette party with some friends in the Caribbean, and to prepare within the bachelorette party, you know, we made a list of like, hey, here's some colors that the bride would like us to wear. Try to bring a pink swimsuit, white, black, very basic.
Like a nude
like in a nude swimsuit, a black outfit and a white outfit, you know, when you're packing. But, you know, understand your budgets, do what you got to do.
Yeah.
Everyone in the group was like, oh, this is fine. I was too. But there was an article that came out in The Cut about women who have gone bankrupt paying for bachelorette trips like this.
No,
and
I've been there.
Yeah. And like just truly bankrupt. And I was like, I want to relate to this as someone who like just got my own like bachelorette list and is paying for all this. But I can't relate because my friends would just understand if I said no.
Yeah.
Right.
I was like, I would just say, and if your friends wouldn't understand that, they're not your friends.
Yeah, that's a problem.
And everyone decided the bride of the bachelorette party I'm going to is the world's biggest entitled bitch.
Bridezilla.
They could not believe she was dictating what we wore. She was like, she's trying to dictate what you wear every second of this bachelorette party. And I was like, no, we're going to have other things. Those are just swimsuits.
Yeah.
Right.
Don't worry, I'll have my own clothes.
And also, like, as if she's asking you to be her pet for the rest of her life. It's like a fucking weekend.
It's her party. Yeah. And it's like, and also we volunteered. We were like, hey, girl, we're going to do this. What colors do you want?
Right.
And how many times do people do that for like birthday parties?
Yes.
Right.
Or even
and
like
people were just like, I
party.
can't believe someone being this entitled. What is even the point of doing this? Isn't it enough to just have fun with your friends?
People just want to be mad.
And people
And they
just
don't
want to
have
be
friends.
mad. And then
yeah.
she had said like she wanted us to do a nude color bikini because she wants to do, you know, like a nude
Sexy,
tone. Sexy, like nude tone photo. And the thing that it said was she wants to look at you and think, oh, is she naked? Which is funny.
Yeah,
Right.
it's cute.
People on Twitter were like, your friend is a sexual deviant. She's clearly trying to assault you guys. Why do you need to be naked? That's inappropriate. You need to stand up for her.
It's like, we're not 16.
And then from there, it turned into people going, I can't believe she's making you wear a bikini to the wedding.
Not to the wedding.
And I got like multiple messages of people being like, stand up to your friend and tell her it's wrong to wear a bikini to a wedding. And I was just like,
I'm sure there's like people on TikTok covering this too. Like,
oh, absolutely.
That's why I feel like Twitter for me was always like, I grew up in New Hampshire. I dealt with the incels firsthand. Like that was every Jim, Joe, and John on the street.
Yeah.
And I just fully was just, I couldn't do it. So TikTok has been my reprieve. I'll catch it on the second wave.
Yeah.
About these stories.
Everyone has their like platform. Because like, I'm a Redditor through and through, but I'm not like a Reddit poster. Like I'm a tweeter, you know, like, yeah, everyone has their safe place platforms, I guess.
You turn your back, you're like, stop talking about Twitter like that.
But like, I'm jealous of the Tumblr people, you know?
Like,
Tumblr was so good.
Tumblr.
I miss the I'm jealous of the people who are like still doing it. And they're like, no, like we're still on Tumblr.
Yeah.
I mean, you talk about sexual deviance. I'm like sitting in my room at 13, like, whoa.
Tumblr taught me too much. It taught me a lot of things I should not have known at that age.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. But hey, that's why we're Pluto and Scorpio. That's why we're millennials. That's why we're fucked in the brain. That's why Gen Z thinks that we're sexual deviants, literally.
And turning everything into porn.
Yeah, we're all queer porn addicts, I guess.
So we're destroying the country with sex positivity or something. I don't know.
Which is so crazy because, side note, I just feel like as millennials, we kind of have this group. Chad, we're not talking about you. So, I just remember Chad's Gen Z. But we have this group, like, understanding that we all kind of had to maybe not we were fighting, but like there was this fight for sexual, like sex positivity.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I
think-
watched my mom's best friend Gary get the right to marry his husband.
And it was like this big
yeah.
thing, this big generational like
They don't
thing that we're proud of, I think, as
they
millennials.
don't
Like we're sex
realize
positive.
how much of a slut shamey culture we
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Like it is, they don't understand. There was a time where like even a 24-year-old woman could be like, I've had sex, and people would be like, oh, how dare you?
Yeah,
Truly.
it was
Like,
really a big
you
deal.
unmarried heathen.
like
It's like,
people
bro.
literally were like Britney Spears.
Yes.
Oh
Got
my
heat because she was
God.
like she said in an interview, she wasn't a virgin. She was like 23.
But
and
they
people were like,
forced it out of her.
Yeah, it was really
so it's
bad.
not even like a lot of it, I think, is that we didn't even have consent to share
Yeah,
our experience.
exactly.
So now that Gen Z is coming back and being like, I wear the cross and how dare you burn. It's like,
yeah.
you
Yeah.
have no idea how hard we fought just to like
To be-
live
yeah.
to talk
peacefully.
about this.
To even
yeah.
just be
Live
like,
peacefully.
it's healthy to look at porn and masturbate.
Yeah.
When we were kids, they were still teaching masturbating can make you go blind.
Yes.
Like,
Or hysterical.
yeah,
like,
or hysterical. And it was like definitely not a thing a woman should ever think about
or talk
you know.
about.
And that was our lifetimes.
Yeah.
So these kids now, and they're like, you guys just want everything to be porn. It's like, do you know how hard we had to fight for that?
Or everyone wants their cake and eat it too. Everyone's poly and like, what happened to monogamy? Like,
yeah.
like what? Okay,
Honestly.
anyway, we'll
Wait.
stop clutching our pearls.
But this also makes me want to ask the question, is your current partner poly? Was he poly before he met
Yeah.
you? What was that like?
Yeah. He is poly. He's been poly for a while now. I think maybe 5 years-ish. But he's poly and has another partner. So yeah, he was already used to it, which as someone who's been poly for about a decade, I would say try to only date other poly
Yeah.
people who have done it for a long time.
Yeah.
No, do not recommend.
Newbies.
Yeah, newbies. Sorry.
And definitely not like strictly monogamous people.
Yeah, especially people who've only done monogamy really. And yeah, so honestly, this person, I'm always like, you're the first kind of actually good poly guy I've dated.
Yeah.
Because he's been doing it for so long, and like so has his partner. And
Yep.
it's also one of those dynamics where they're both poly. It's not one of those things where it's like, oh, the guy's poly and the girl in the relationship it just wishes he'll get over it. And
Yeah. You can tell he's very like this Leo sun, Taurus moon, like he's very attentive. Like every
Yes.
time I see you guys are like embracing in some way or cuddling in some way. Like he's always touching you. And it's
Yeah.
such a Taurus moon. Even Leo sun thing, I feel like they're so tactile and like always want to cuddle.
Yes.
And he also looks like a lion, so not surprising.
Oh.
He has like a beautiful, like
beautiful
mane.
long dreads.
Yeah, long, beautiful lock. Like he is a lion. So
And
truly.
his moon in your 7th house, I feel like gives such a deep understanding, like a visceral understanding of what your relationship goals are.
yeah,
like
your
you don't,
needs.
Yeah.
you don't have to explain that so in depthly. Like that very much feels like fated synastry between both of your
Mhm.
charts. And just because I'm a serial monogamist, I would like to ask the question of what is the end goal, if there is a goal at all between the two of you?
Yeah, I mean, this is it. I guess we're in a
Keep- like,
relationship.
keep
It's like, yeah, it
going,
just
yeah.
keeps going. Like, I don't know. I think at this point we're both like, I always want you in my life,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's just like, oh wow, I've like found someone in LA. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yes.
But I just kind of love it. And,
Yeah, you guys are so cute. I can't.
and yeah, I'm just like, thank goodness I did another stupid project, or I never would have met him.
Yes.
But I was going to ask too, with your Mars and Gemini, it's like the desire for the experimentation doesn't end. So where do you find that now?
Yeah, that's interesting because, I do think at some point I'll, like right now, we've been together for a year and it's been very like, let's get to know each other, not really seeing other people. And I think at some point it'll get to okay, we're very stable, solid foundation, and maybe I'll like get back out and date and meet some people again, and we'll see.
Yeah.
But right now, I don't know, like falling in love with someone like this feels like the experimentation.
Yeah.
Totally.
It's like it's been a long time since I've done this, but now I'm like older and mature, and I'm like,
It's so special. Yeah. Okay. I guess we should start wrapping up.
I guess so, yeah.
Yeah. It was so great to have you.
This was so much fun. I am so down to talk about astrology all the time.
Yes. Well, yeah, we're around. So
We need you back on at some
I
point.
need to
please.
come back with my mom so you can just figure her out for me. I'll leave the room. She'll probably tell you some of her deepest, darkest secrets.
Yes.
But yeah.
I'm a 7-time Scorpio stellium, so I'm sure she and I
I'm a
will either
Scorpio.
love each other
Yeah.
or fight.
Yeah, absolutely. She'd be like, I can either tell you everything or nothing.
Yeah.
Where can people find you, your work, anything upcoming?
My handle is @theAshleyRay everywhere, so you can follow me there. Check out my new album, Ice Cream Money, wherever you stream music, Spotify, whatever, Apple Music. And I have a bunch of shows coming up in LA. I do a show at the Comedy Store called Flex the second Wednesday of every month. So just go look at my site and you'll see what shows I have.
Yay.
Awesome.
We're so lucky to be in LA and get to witness all of it.
Yes.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank
Thank you so much for
you.
coming on.
And thank you guys for tuning in, and see you next week. Thanks. Yay.
I didn't want that. When stars align. You can catch us every Tuesday for new weekly episodes.
Be sure to subscribe, rate us 5 stars, and leave us a review to help more people find us.
If you have questions about your love life that you're interested in us answering on a future episode, be sure to submit them in the link in the show notes.
This podcast was created for Stars Align dating app. Produced by Megan and Kirah and edited by Chad the Maverick.